Danielle, tonight's roll call, please.
Jeff Penzine,
Here.
Lynn Shank,
Yes, ma'am.
David Newbill,
Here.
Angela Willis,
Here.
Jim Christopher,
Here.
Jenny McKay.
Here.
Okay, thank you for coming tonight. It's a special meeting, so a little smaller crowd than we've grown accustomed to. Thank you. I'm not complaining. So looking first to the agenda for this evening's meeting. Everyone's had a chance to review that. The only, I guess, observation I would make is the date reads October 22nd. Maybe you caught that, Danielle.
Wow.
Change that to December 2nd, 2024. There is no public hearing, so I stand corrected on that. So other than that, I guess, barring comments or revisions, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion we approve today's agenda for December 2nd, 2024.
Those in favor? Aye.
Second.
Those need a second.
Whoa, cowboy.
Expedience. I will take a second to the motion.
I will second it.
Jenny, thank you. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there being none, the motion is approved. All right, looking to our minutes from our last scheduled meeting, that was October 22nd. Danielle, nice job,
Yes.
as always, staying with the energy in the room.
And you're alive.
Right.
We made it.
No, that was a dilly.
Whew.
I looked through, I find everything to be an accurate reflection of what unfolded personally. I have no changes.
Can I make a motion that we approve the PC meeting minutes for October 22nd, 2024?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there being none, the minutes as presented are approved. All right, so that brings us to tonight's new business. The only item on the agenda, in reality, is the site plan review application for Camp Tamarack. There are representatives of the applicant here tonight.
Can we make an adjustment for the minutes?
Nope, too late.
He was not,
I wasn't in, my yes vote wasn't included in the minutes. For the mo.
From the last scheduled meeting.
Oh,
On page.
Yeah.
Oh, nice catch, David.
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
So page 3 of the unapproved minute from the October 22nd meeting, Danielle,
Mm-hmm.
there was a roll call to vote on the
Oh.
last ordinance. David's,
I voted yes.
Okay, I'll add Newbill.
thank you.
That's important.
yeah.
That's a big one.
So then, should we,
Remotion
Withdraw.
as corrected.
pardon?
Remotion as corrected instead of as submitted.
Okay, I would entertain a motion, a remotion, as per the correction noted by David Newbill.
Can I second that? For the corrections?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nick Good.
Okay, there being none, the corrected motion is approved. Okay, then back to tonight's site plan application. There are representatives from the applicant here. Yes,
Yes,
your name please.
so my name is Scott Barr. I work for a company, property management company called Newmark, and I represent Tamarack as their property facility.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Gentlemen, yourself?
James Cooper, I work for Tamarack and Newmark.
And your name, sir?
I'm Martin Jevett, I'm DZI Construction Services, I'm the general contractor.
What is your last name, Ernie?
Dzewitt, D-Z-I-E-W-I-T.
And what's the name of the company?
DZI Construction Services, Inc.
Okay, so I guess the best way to go about this, we've, obviously, Scott, you know the drill, we've had a chance to review, the materials that were prepared for tonight's meeting, we were given a packet of information. And I guess if you have just an overall, presentation or just a broad overview that you'd like to supplement the written submission with, I would invite you to do that now.
I mean, you've all reviewed the prints, right? So, I assume so.
Well, I did on my computer, I haven't looked at the actual prints, but that being said,
Oh, there you go.
yeah, no, I have a general understanding of where it's located.
So in the north central part of the property, we're proposing to put additional housing for summer staff. So this is a housing unit that has basically 10 small suites in it and a common gathering area with a small kitchen. And this is to service our doctors and nurses who volunteer on the property for the summer season to take care of the kids when they need or need attention.
So it's not strictly a medical facility,
It's
correct?
not a medical facility at all, but it houses the doctors and nurses. So we have a medical facility directly across the road from this, where we have a small clinic with 4 bed stations, infirmary, and on-site nurse and doctor. And then we have additional doctors and nurses that volunteer as peak season of when the kids are here, and they'll be housed in this unit.
When kids are there 24/7,
Yes.
a doctor and nurse.
Well, only for our summer season.
Right,
So
when
we're
you have people there.
Well, we have people there all year. But we don't staff the medical portion of that outside of our summer
Okay.
camp window.
So I guess I will begin just with a general observation, and this goes back to, I guess just something set forth in the ordinance with regard to the site plan process and the chronology of the steps of the process. This is a special meeting, that I guess was actually discretionary. This was scheduled, upon request. It wasn't a regular meeting, if you will. And so I guess my question would be, why are we so late in the application process, just to begin with?
So we had the same issue last year when we came to you with the One Village and our amphitheater that we put in. So we're a nonprofit. We depend on our community to give us donations to fund these projects. And sometimes that could take a very long time. We may have designs like this one months in advance, but not have the proper funding to go ahead and push forward. So we fundraise throughout the year, and then our window gets smaller every year because we cannot do construction after, say, the middle of May, because that's when our staff and kids start showing up for our main bulk of our summer program. So we have to backtrack from that date as to how the latest we can get the funding, which we got the day I submitted the application into the township.
Yeah, I noted that.
Right.
And I do recall last year, that we did have a special meeting. I can't remember, what the site plan proposal was at that point.
We had 2 projects last year that we proposed to the township. One was another small village, a newly constructed village, starting my voice, of course, and an amphitheater next door down in the
Right, okay. There's just, I'm not a fan of exigent circumstance and
Right.
kind of hastily pushing things along, especially when you're talking about a detailed proposal such as this. At least in my view, it seems pretty detailed from a construction, engineering, planning standpoint. So that kind of just was was something that was of a concern, but we're here.
Well, can I make a comment on that?
Yes,
So there's no planning meeting scheduled by the township in November and December. So I would have to wait until January in order to get this on a normal schedule.
Well, or is it possible, even though you don't have the funding locked in, if you are, if the details, if this plan was already detailed out months ago, is there any reason why you couldn't have brought it over here sooner? And then if the funding doesn't happen for, you know, I'm sure there's and I think there is a clock in which you approve it where that site plan, that things are valid and forward for a given period of time, but you can at least, I would think, and Danielle or Arthur step in if I was saying something I'm not supposed to, but I would think just being proactive, getting at least a site plan review in front of this committee to allow us time to go through, vet it, provide feedback, and then once you have your funding locked in, then it's basically either a rubber stamp, or if there's edits that do need to be made, then it's a quicker process. I guess that's where I'm getting
I
at.
understand that. So from our end, we're a nonprofit. Our community donors are very special people within our community. And in order to do a planning meeting, we have to have the funding up front, because we can't just pay $10,000 without a fund to pull it from, a nonprofit fund. So in order to pull a special $10,000 to put in a planning application, I have to announce the project to the public.
I see what you're saying.
So if
So
I
in order
announce
to
it to the
kick off
public
the application-
prior to them giving us money,
Yeah,
they might get scared, or someone else might be offended by that within our community. And quite frankly, we can't pay for it because we don't have the funds from our donor to just turn it over.
okay.
I
so-
can't pull it from a different part of the business because that would violate our nonprofit
Yeah.
agreements.
Okay,
Right?
I understand where you're coming
So
from now, so, yeah.
the complexity for me is, during the summer, we're working really hard to get this funding, right? We talk about it, we try to design it, we've been working on the design of this building for a year now, because there's so many different people involved, doctors, nurses, staff, board members, donors, you know, we're trying to fund all this together, and that takes a long time. And again, if you had a normal planning meeting in November and December, I wouldn't have to ask for a special meeting.
Yeah.
So now I'm under the gun because it's October, and I have until May to get this project done, and I'm gonna cram this building in 5 or 6 months. The township's really good with us, everybody works really well together on these projects when we get them in. But that's really the reason why, there's so much exposure in the community. If we go public, because you have to do a public announcement, somebody will see that and say, hey, wait a minute, we didn't approve this funding. You know, it creates a lot of potential challenges.
Yep.
But really the bottom line is, until I actually get the funding for the project, I can't pay
You
for
can't
it.
apply,
Yeah,
basically,
can't
is what
apply.
it boils down to. Okay,
Right.
okay.
The only reason why we had to go public is because it's a special meeting. If you didn't have a special meeting, I wouldn't have to do public notice.
Yeah, and like I said, if there was a meeting in November and
Yeah.
December on the normal docket, then I wouldn't have to go for a special meeting, I'd just wait until December, you know, the second.
And I think
second
unfortunately
Tuesday.
how the meetings fall, I
It's
mean, they're right
Thanksgiving
on
and Christmas.
Thanksgiving and they're right on Christmas.
Right, so that's where our challenge was last year, we ran into
Yeah.
the same thing. We knew we were doing this in September and October, but we didn't have time to get all the stuff involved into you, because we didn't have a November, December meeting last year either. So
Yeah.
that we had to pull a special meeting at the end of November.
well, maybe there's an opportunity there for the commission to think proactively towards scheduling for 2025.
Yeah, maybe we do include it doesn't have to be on that week, but maybe we figure out something where November and December, we're
First
still
week of
on
December,
meetings,
right.
but they're gonna be unique and don't fall within that same timetable or something.
Well, and
We
see, if I
usually
knew
have
you had a meeting in the docket on November, like a normal
Yeah.
monthly meeting, that you didn't have, maybe I could have finagled something to get it in
Yeah.
sooner, but I couldn't. So, you know, because that wasn't available to me, the only choice I have, and other than waiting until January, and I wouldn't be able to meet the deadline of the project, is to come into you and ask for a special consideration.
Right, no,
But again, November, we usually always do have a meeting, not this month, this year, but, and again, I've been on it for 29 years, we usually do have one in November, never December,
Right,
unless it would be a special.
so then, you know.
So you got kicked out 2 months. so you had to do this, understand?
Yeah, I mean, this year it's 3 months, because if I didn't meet the October date, now I'm
Right.
missing November and December, and we're in January, before I even get a permit, and I already missed my window of
Yeah.
getting the project
Yeah,
moving.
that's,
Because we're really squeezing him like no other to get this
Yeah.
done by May.
And we can say the same with regard to our subject matter experts. Arthur's here tonight. He's kind of shoehorned in a review for the township planning perspective. I know Tim is not here tonight, but he's done the same from an engineering perspective. So, you know, we have consultants and experts of our own that the whole, I don't know, the scheduling, when it backs up, it puts time constraints on a lot of downstream interests. So just something for both of our.
But I can respect that, and you know, we have a great working relationship with the township, always have, well, at least since I've been here now 8 years. You know, and I don't like working under these situations. I'd much rather have this ahead of time, give it to you in October and say, let us have our way.
Oh, pre-COVID, they were.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to do a lot of projects out there in that time period, and they had funding, and everything was pretty smooth and
Right.
issues like that. But, you know, the thing from a builder's point of view is that they use the same architect that they did for a lot of these buildings. We have up the codes of, you know, the fiber optics with the full fire alarm in this building, it's fully fire suppressed. They do things right out there, you know, we standardize, and I was lucky to be involved when we standardized a lot of the specs and upgraded all the specs on these buildings. They're wood framed, obviously, and we know what the codes are required, and it's an R3, so, yeah, they do it right, you know, at least from a builder's point of view. The drawings are good, you know, specs are good, there's specs, you know, structural requirements, how it's connected to the base, you know, all those good things, so.
Thank you. Yeah, we often, I think, either have day jobs or we're volunteers essentially for the township, right? So we rely upon learned persons. Arthur, I'm really pumping you up tonight, buddy, but people who kind of
After
know.
last month, I appreciate it.
So
I think we all appreciate
we
it.
rely upon their ability to review, to, you know, kind of.
Well, I don't think this would work in an environment if this was on a roadway in the community, you know what I
Right,
mean? This does not work.
Correct.
But, you know, thank goodness it's out there, because this, too many questions come up when you're on, and, you know, when I build normal in the city or wherever, you know, you don't get this special, you know, this kind of special service almost, and we greatly appreciate it, you know, my staff appreciates it, because we're gonna get another building this year, and things kind of stalled here for us, well, so it's perfect for us.
Okay, so I guess to just kind of move the discussion forward, we were given, I guess I'd call it a report from Arthur Wade Trim, Township Planning. And then we were also given a report from Tim Giudice. He's our engineering consultant with OHM. Tim is not here, obviously Arthur is. So I think what I would propose is just to kind of work through, if everyone had a chance to review Tim's letter, we can start with that. Because I really don't see, personally, I mean, I invite my fellow commissioners to point out if they disagree, but I don't see any really irreconcilable concerns in Tim's report. In fact, he kind of just, in a rather conclusory fashion, says that there is no utility, stormwater management, or site paving improvements proposed, so a detailed planning review is not required. He recommends site plan approval based upon substantial compliance with you know, the requisite engineering standards. I guess I don't really have any overt concerns after review of Tim's letter. Anyone else?
I just have a technical question for the guys in the audience. The building is supposed to be fire suppressed?
Yes.
No idea then. Okay. No, but
As good as Notre Dame?
No. Not at all. So the only thing I'd comment on, just to clarify what Tim wrote in here about the septic, we're tying into an existing septic field that we have approval from the county to do. and we're just working through and getting the town approved for that now. So the county was out last week, did an inspection on it, did a test of our existing field, we looked at our numbers. You know, we're gonna be providing our own tanks, but it's gonna pump into an existing field. So once the county gives us that information, which usually takes them 3 or 4 months, I think we'll have it sooner, we'll be able to turn that over too.
Good, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. And in regard to the permitting, obviously those are not so much a concern because those come through administrative bodies, right?
Right.
I'll get copies of everything from county. They'll send it right to me.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments on the engineering review by Tim Giudice? Okay, so I would then turn to Arthur's report. Arthur's here. Arthur, thank you for being
Sure.
here. If you could introduce yourself, these gentlemen may or may not know you.
So I'm Arthur Mullen with Wade Trim. We're the new planning firm for the township. And I'm pinch hitting for Caitlin, who's on maternity leave. So the first time I looked at their ordinance was for your review.
Okay.
So that's kind of why, but our focus really is to protect the township. So we're always looking at their ordinance to see where you're complying and missing and stuff. So we try to be very precise because I don't want to, if we had to have a second review, be like, oh, well, you also needed to do this. I wanted everything in the first review so you can address it.
Right.
In your case, there were things missing that would be in a normal review, but again, there's extenuating circumstances about the site and the potential impacts of a development. Usually the development is visible to the public and can have an impact on adjacent properties and property owners and even the visual appearance of the community. Yours is a limited access site. You're 3,000 feet from a neighboring property line.
Right.
So I think there's some very extenuating circumstances. But what I do want, what I put in my last paragraph, is encouraging the planning commission to make a finding of fact of why they may not be fully applying all of the standard rules in the zoning ordinance in this case. Just because in the future, when they have to go into another client who's saying, hey, why does Tamarack get the free pass here? They didn't get a free pass. Their site is a unique site. We made a finding of fact determining those conditions. And so that's why you see my last paragraph is kind of understanding that there's been a long-term working relationship with Camp Tamarack, but you know, I'm an outsider too, trying to make sure that I'm fulfilling what we've been asked to fulfill for the township. So that's kind of where we get to the end of my letter. I don't think there's anything major, but I would kind of recommend that you all make a finding of fact about why that some of these things may not meet your direct standards because of the conditions of the site and laid out.
Danielle, what?
I was just gonna say, you remember the ones that we did NA for, a lot of them, when Becca and Raider was here for the last building that we did, like the
I
landscaping.
do remember that, but I don't remember there being a lot of them. I remember
No,
there
there's only like,
There's not a lot.
No, there was
Six?
landscaping, parking, signage,
Kind of like exactly what you see in my letter.
lighting.
And so I guess that's why I appreciate the kind of catch-all, the parachute at the end where we can have a soft landing. If there's, you know, if we don't.
If there's-
apply strict compliance
If
approach.
there's agreement from the board, I wanted to be able to give you an opportunity. But the reason being is, I think in this case, there are some extenuating circumstances. And then some of this is then handed over and put into an administrative review. So we're not also then saying the landscaping, you know, the landscaping plan would then be shown and approved administratively. The lighting plan would be addressed administratively, just in case they don't show up with giant searchlights on the side of their building and decide that they wanna light it up like 747's can land there. So I think.
do remember that, yes.
Right.
I do remember that.
So, I mean, so there's, you know, I don't think you're also waiving these things, it's that you're putting some of them into your administrative hands, which you've done in the past.
So if I may, turn it back to Scott. Scott, did you have a chance to see Arthur's letter?
I didn't see Arthur's letter, I saw it.
I don't know if you wanna see Arthur's letter, I'll be honest.
Well, I mean, if you could send it to me, I'm not gonna review it.
You were copied on the email.
Was I?
Yeah.
I sent it to you on Friday.
And
You were in
I'll-
Connecticut.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
And I'll be honest, this is where a lot of my concern regarding the late initiation of the process kind of crept in here, because I do have a concern personally over the free pass logic. Like
It's not a free pass.
I understand, but I'm speaking to how much of these bullet pointed items can be satisfactorily addressed within the application process, such that there is no information provided, is not part of the process. You know what I'm saying? So maybe there is, well, in this case, stormwater management, it doesn't provide any information, but Tim seemed to indicate that it's not a concern from an engineering standpoint. So, you know, that's one of the bullet points that maybe it's.
It would not be, he doesn't think it's, I'm not an engineer, so I'm just telling you what we normally look at and what's in your site plan packet, what they're asking for to be included. And then it's kind of like, I'm gonna let the engineer decide if that meets your code or not, or the county code.
And just looking through the other kind of alphabetized points you make, Arthur, some of these are easily rectified. The legal description, zoning classification, those can all be, I don't know, corrected, or if need be, maybe they don't.
Can I?
Yeah.
So, you know, when we look at our projects, we're only looking at a small window in our property. We're 1,000 acres. We're talking about a couple, you know? So our parking is somewhere else on the property, right? So it's not necessarily tied to this building in the same way. And so the question comes up, where's parking? It's like, well, we have a huge parking lot in front of the facility, so that takes up for the parking needs for the specific building. Same with the village that we did last fall. So, again, the signage too, like we don't have any signage for the building. There won't be any signage on the road with lights or anything else. That's which was the concern on the last time we went through this review. So I think if we can sort of marry that into the whole site itself, instead of the specific building, that would give a lot more clarity to what this is.
And if I may, I think there's, so in the first section, minimum site plan requirements, most of that is just check marks and just saying what was not included. I don't think you need to concern yourself with that. I think where it is in the sections 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.6. I think landscaping can easily be addressed. We know there's no site sign. Let's start at 3.12.2. There will be no parking changes, so I think that's addressed. I didn't know that, and I figured Scott would answer that way when he answered it. I just don't have the information. Site signage, I suspected there wasn't gonna be any site signage, but still like to know if there is gonna be any, so we can get a sense of, are they expecting something big? They're not. Landscaping, a landscaping plan can easily be submitted to staff for staff approval.
So there is comments in there on landscaping. It says, shows a couple of shrubs and bushes in there, and general landscaping where we do naturalized grass or, you know, common Michigan grass.
Correct. But the thing is, there's a landscape plan, and we're kind of, there was far short of what would standardly be in the landscape plan, and they're described in the ordinance. Off-street parking, not an issue. I think lighting won't be an issue. It's just we don't know, so it's one of those things, how do we know? And then stormwater management has been addressed by the engineer. And then I think what we get at is, why are you considering these things? Again, about the site and the potential for impacts on the community. You're 3,000 feet from any adjoining property. It's what we're concerned. A lot of these things are when we're dealing with a commercial building along a roadway and making sure that it fits into the community and doesn't impact the health, safety, and welfare. I think lighting, I don't think they would light it up like a Christmas tree, but maybe they, and these are conditions. You put the condition in your approval, a landscape plan that satisfies the administrative staff, a lighting plan that satisfies the administrative staff, and the rest of these issues, we have a finding of fact that the unique character of the site addresses our concerns.
When you say administrative staff, what are you referring to?
I would say that it would be, as long as Danielle feels that this meets what has been approved and what she feels comfortable meets the ordinance.
So, thank you.
Because she's your administrative arm.
That was very helpful. You've allayed a lot of my concerns. Upon first review of your report, I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot of information here that's lacking. But what you're saying is, given the, I don't know, the specific esoteric characteristics of the applicant here in the property, a lot of these check boxes are really, the concerns are mitigated.
Correct, but that last paragraph is where I'm talking about the findings of fact, just so that you're able to say there are extenuating circumstances at this location. Because what we don't want to do is have every applicant start coming in and saying, well, you did it for Camp Tamarack, why can't you do it for us? Well, that's why I'm suggesting that in your determination and the conditions of approval, that you have found that this is a unique site, and therefore you feel that that they are going to meet the goals and objectives of section 5.6, which is your designs requirements.
And this opportunity too also teaches them that next year when they decide to do another building, they can at least address some of these and say there is no change in parking or using existing parking, there'll be no additional signage, and you can just go through this flow too.
And we'll have a landscape plan prepared upon in the spring, and we will submit it to.
I agree, but we did that last year with that nice checklist that we went through, and we went through each item.
Okay.
But the comment here is, it's on a very large parcel. Yeah, it's a 140 acre parcel that we're putting this building on, but we also own the 16 parcels around it to make up 1,000 acres. You know what I mean? It's not like there's a parcel across that borders this parcel that we're building on. You know what I mean? So when you take that consideration, I don't know how that flows into the zoning and planning here, but we're building on 140, I think it's a 140 acre parcel, but we have 1,000 acres over there on 16 or 17 parcels. This one's kind of in the middle. So that's consideration for how we're affecting stormwater runoff, whether it affects the township or not. We have our own lakes, so everything's mitigated into the lake, pretty much. Dam controlled, private dam, we own it.
It just to Arthur's point, I think everyone is agreeing with you. I think the bottom line is, for the board here, we just need to make sure it's documented that these are different circumstances, so we don't have a normal resident coming in with a request on, okay, well, because folks see the minutes, right? So we're trying to prevent a resident from coming in and taking advantage of the situation. And saying, well, you didn't require a landscape plan for for Tamarack was a special treatment, you know, so we're trying not to get into that. So it gets back into documenting or justifying why we're doing what we're doing. I think everyone's in agreement with you. You've got all kinds of land, there's no one sitting right on top of you. So, and you're building literally in the middle of all this property, so it's minimal. Many of a lot of the criteria that was outlined, it just flat out doesn't apply, or it's minimal requirements where we feel confident and y'all can vet it out, so.
Well, if you want, we can provide, additional architectural, supplement to this.
I think they were saying that they can do a deferred submittal. I mean, we're doing deferred
Yeah, we
submittal
can
on
do
fire suppression, we'll do it on
Yeah.
landscape.
Yeah, if that works for you, we can do that. We can do that for all the
Not
bullet
just,
items.
not just landscaping, but I think there are a couple
I think the
elements, right?
We can do that for the lighting plan, we do that for stormwater runoff.
Landscaping, and really just landscaping and lighting, I
Yeah,
guess.
those were the two big ones.
Arthur, would you
I would
agree?
say those are the two issues that were the ones that could have offsite impacts. The stormwater, your engineer has said not a concern. So,
But we can put that on our list.
Any other comments or questions from the commission?
So is that something you want us to submit as a supplemental architectural?
Well, I was just
submittal,
gonna
or can we
kind
do that as some verbiage somewhere?
I guess I'm gonna turn it back to our planning,
all right. Do you want me to try to make a motion that makes sense? And then you can decide if you like it?
I think he's got a question.
Yeah, regarding any supplemental submittals, and this is the firefighters too. Do we need to show on the drawings some type of signage, so if you were to respond to an emergency, you know where to go?
Yeah, we will have signage that defines the building by name based on what the plans are.
And they're all marked like that out there.
Okay, I haven't been there in years, so, okay.
Which I would highly advise everybody to go through and look at the camp.
I absolutely would invite you to come look at it.
Maybe I'll let you do
It'll
the
definitely
planning
give you
walk.
some perspective on what we're doing over there.
Hamburgers, fries.
We are a Jewish facility, so everything has to be kosher. We
How about some
can
salmon?
work something out, I'm sure.
Salmon
Some smoked
lox.
salmon?
so Arthur, before the invitation is wasted, yes. Yes, if you would, take a stab at this, because when you talk about extenuating circumstance and finding a fact,
Right.
you see where I'm going?
Yes. Something to the effect that the planning commission finds that due to the very large parcel far removed from the edge of the property with limited public access, that there are extenuating circumstances that due to the unique nature of the development's location.
Okay, I can't type that fast.
You have it on video.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Due to the unique nature of the development's location, the planning commission has made the finding of fact that the site development standards in section 5.1 will be achieved by this development with two conditions. One, the landscaping plan prepared and submitted to the administration for review and approval, and a lighting plan. So there'd be two conditions and the finding of fact about this site.
I guess I would make a small revision to that too.
Oh boy.
And I'm taking language right from your letter, Arthur. Due to the unique nature of the development's location on a secluded parcel removed from public access, and then move forward with the rest of that way it's specific enough about, well, why, okay, well, because of the seclusion, because of the lack of public access, things of that nature, that gets more into the why.
Sure.
Well, you said it was at least 3,000 feet before a property line.
I was just off the top of my head, but
Okay, well, that's a mile is 5,280. So it's 3/5 of a mile before another property line. That's a long distance.
Right.
3/5 of a mile.
Right, that's why I'm saying that there's all the reasons why I think there's extenuating circumstances in this case. Your zoning ordinance is really designed to help promote the health, safety, welfare, and ensure quality development that supports economic development and growth, and worried about bad development that could hinder that. We're not concerned about that case, but we're trying to make sure that we're not creating a situation that another applicant would
Okay.
say, you
It's their
let.
horse on.
Yeah, and so that's why I've been trying to be pretty strong about finding a fact for the planning commission, so that it is this unique situation.
And for that motion as well, the landscape and lighting plan to be submitted for administrative review, just so we're clear that it doesn't
Correct.
have to come back here,
Correct,
that it just goes back to Danielle,
correct.
just so we're clear.
Does that sound good?
I got it.
Okay.
Who made the motion? Who's,
Who's
okay. Who's gonna second? Good job, Jenny.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Arthur.
You're welcome.
Who did it, Lynn?
Yeah.
I will make it all pretty. Okay,
Roll call?
So do we need a roll to call the vote, or do we just,
roll calls are usually used for money.
okay?
Or,
But
or,
if
or
you-
a highly contentious vote.
This
Is
is,
this
Where-
contentious?
no,
We can roll call if you want though.
No, we'll just go with a majority, right?
Okay,
So,
All in favor?
no further discussion. All those in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, there being none, the site plan application is recommended for approval.
Thank you.
So, back to the agenda, I don't think there's anything else.
so next step is so this is the preliminary site plan. Where you guys go through and approve it. The next one is going to be the engineering and construction review, which also gets another planning commission meeting. And then the final site plan is another meeting after that.
so in terms of timeline, what are we talking, just so we have an idea?
I mean, planning commission meetings, I do believe are gonna be every month, January, February, March, April, May, starting
Is that
in
going to
2026,
meet
so.
the needs of Tamarack in terms of the next?
They're okay to proceed to move forward because of the affidavit that he signed.
Okay,
So they can right now dig, pull trees,
okay.
put the plumbing in the slab. And then that's all good. And then, did that.
So will we?
I mean, we
go
can
into-
even consider engineering and construction plan review. I don't know if we would need a meeting for that or not. We could consider not having one if you think, everything that we said here today will be good enough to completely move forward.
Danielle, why isn't that handled just through our normal course of review and a set of drawings?
This is just our site plan review process that's in our ordinance and we're supposed to follow it.
Surprising.
That's all I know. So do we wanna set up the next meeting for
I would say
engineering
let's go
construction?
ahead and, yeah.
That
I
was
just
done
don't
through,
wanna do
isn't that
something-
done through an email, Bruce? Is that what you have until January?
So,
I see.
I'm not
There's
sure.
lot of engineering in this one. You gotta have site plan approval before you start your drawings if you're doing
Yeah,
technical. why would you place your building and do all this work without, before you had, or site plan approval, and then you go through engineering, although there's not much engineering per that letter, we're tying into existing sanitary and water, that's right by this building.
And it
So, it's a pretty simple,
should be straightforward,
Yeah.
you know?
It's up to you guys.
I mean, can we go down the path of email, but then let's set a meeting up. Can we just put a placeholder in just in case? Cause I don't want something to happen where if there is an issue, I doubt there will be, but, and if we don't need to have it, we don't have it.
Jim had something to say.
What's your thought, Jim?
I actually don't remember what the hell I was gonna say. But I will tell you philosophically, and we've seen these guys before.
Yeah, it
and I'm
should
not
be straight.
really all concerned that they're not gonna do the right thing.
Right.
So, and I may agree with you and you, Ange, but Danielle, if I could just refer your attention back to the site plan review process, are you, and I'm gonna kind of out myself here, are you referring to part 5? The revised site plan submittal, is that what you're talking about? We could basically, no, on the process, not the fee schedule. This was part of the packet that you had emailed around earlier.
Part 5?
Part 5, revised site plan submittal. The applicant submits a revised site plan based on the staff report and planning commission comments. The planner reviews it to ensure that all conditions have been met. Correspondence during this process will be conducted by the planner and the zoning administrator with the applicant. So is that what you're talking about? We would essentially rely upon the process delineated in part 5 to suffice for the next step of the process? Is that what you're? Or no?
Which is basically what we did now.
I
If
think
this
tonight
was-
was actually 4, Scott. It was planning commission review was tonight.
Okay. Well, I mean, we did cover 5 tonight.
I think that's what she's suggesting, that
Yeah.
because we've also basically, during the course of the meeting and the reports from the planner, the engineer,
Right.
is it, am I correct or no?
I mean,
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
no, it's fine. Normally, we wouldn't even have to have gone to, they're approved of the site plan. Hold on, now I gotta get my bearings. But isn't, since we have, conditions? Or because their conditions are submitted as for, that's administratively, they shouldn't have to have this one.
That's why I'm just trying to get your ordinance. I'm just trying to see if there is final, do you?
I mean, I think last year we did everything administratively. We just had a final.
I believe we did.
Okay.
Yeah, we basically covered it all in one shot.
Yeah, cause I think
No,
there's
it's-
so many,
it's really
there's so much
complete.
of it's minor.
We were
That-
complete and all
that-
over to.
Then we could probably not have to worry about it then in terms of having a meeting. I mean,
Well, I guess,
or just get one on there and then if we need it, we have it, you know? I doubt there'll be an issue, but I would say what's the harm of getting it on there in case there is?
Well, our meetings right now are the 4th Wednesday. Are we keeping it the 4th Wednesday?
Like day after tomorrow?
I thought we,
In January.
didn't we move it up a little bit? I know we moved it to Wednesday, but wasn't it?
Or the second, or what is it? The second,
or
Wait, second.
third.
second or third Wednesday, something like that?
It was moved.
Yeah.
which is.
Are we still good with that, golfing people?
Golfing people, I don't know.
It's the second Wednesday, right?
Okay, let's just say we're good. We're gonna do everything administratively until something comes up. I
have
doubt
no-
something will come up.
I have no problem with that.
And then
Okay.
if something
Case
does,
closed.
then you just put it on there as an agenda for the January.
Yes, and this site plan process is also an item on the agenda. Poor Caitlin. she's got so much work ahead of her.
Yeah, no, I've heard nothing of overt concern from Arthur. I see nothing of even
There is,
remote concern from Tim, so I'm relatively comfortable that this will go forward.
yeah, our sense is often that's great for a condo development with a lot of moving parts, with housing, roads, and the like, versus a single structure on an existing site. So I think, the preliminary and final site plan
It's not like a subdivision.
is some communities will push them together on a project like this. I don't know
Well, I
if you
think
do
we
that.
need it separate.
So, but that's,
Okay.
so,
That's for 2026, though, we're not gonna worry about that right now.
All right, problem solved.
Okay,
So where does that leave us then? Just
you're approved.
Good.
We're gonna move forward administratively like we did last year,
Okay, fair enough, thanks.
okay?
Appreciate it.
Yes,
You know what?
any comments from those in attendance tonight? Okay, there are no further items on tonight's agenda, so I would entertain a motion.
Hold on, we have to determine our meeting before we close. You guys are free to go, though.
Okay. And can I ask how we sort of resolve this for next year when we do another project? This
Well,
timeline
instead
thing.
of, Scott, just from my view, instead of submitting the application on October 21st, just back it up maybe 90 days if
Yeah, but
possible.
if I'm not in a position that way again, and I get in the spot where I don't get funding and approval until October.
But what
So
he's
in the
saying
same
is that if
boat.
you catch wind of it, tell me right away, and we
But,
can
yeah.
get things rolling.
So my
No public
nervousness is
notice.
that it'll go public, because once somebody talks about it, and it ends up in my community, then it becomes a big deal.
Dude, you're not that great, not everybody talks about you that much.
Well, no, I know. Look, no, I'm not talking about here, I'm talking about down there.
Well, there would be, how would they
We
find
have
out?
hundreds of kids at work over here.
Yeah.
And one little brief thing to a board member's kid who happens to visit that day, and then all hell breaks loose in my community.
The only thing that would be happening would be internally,
Okay.
and nobody would know anything but me.
So I can do that without funding? Is
We
that
can
what
get
you're
this,
telling me?
I know where you live, I know you live, I know you work.
I mean, the lights on in my house. I literally live
Until
across
you
the street.
submit this application a month prior to the meeting,
Yeah,
it's all just gonna stick with me. I
Okay.
just need
fair enough.
these
Alright,
prints, like all these prints and stuff, having those in July would have helped us immensely.
Okay, then
Okay.
I'll note that for sure.
Yeah, because we can at least start looking at
Looking at it,
Right.
reviewing comments.
even without that application.
Fair enough. I
It was such a fun
can work on managing that for sure.
Yeah.
And just looking at the calendar for 2025, Thanksgiving falls on the 27th,
Okay.
I believe. So we're gonna be in the same boat next year.
Okay.
It depends,
We're 2 weeks,
Yeah, we're 2
the
weeks.
second Wednesday of the month.
are we going
So
the
we may
second?
be-
The second Wednesday,
Oh,
So we
I'm
may
pretty
be
sure
all,
that's
we
what
may
it
be
was.
all right. We may be in a better situation.
the second Wednesday, it is in fact a golf day.
yes. So if that's the case, the second Wednesday is the
gonna be
12th.
in
So we
November.
probably will have a
Yeah.
scheduled meeting in November next year, Scott.
Okay.
So we won't be in the.
Fair enough. Listen, I don't like rushing it through. I promise. I don't. It's not my
You
ideal
just
way
have
to
to
do
be
it.
on
But
that.
it-
As long
It's at
as we always seem to work together, which is
So
fabulous.
But it's at least something to consider where if you have
I can do
something.
that.
This is Danielle.
That I can do, and I can do.
Yeah.
All right, he wants to
It
get.
doesn't have to be Wednesdays forever. This is just until Caitlin finishes something up, and then we can revert back to Tuesdays if we desire.
But again, Tuesdays have been for over 43 years.
Well, we have a new planner. We've also had
I
Becker and
know.
Rader for what, 97 years?
We'll keep our challenges in sequence, as they say, right?
Want me to
Sound
make a motion? Can I make a motion that we all adjourn for today? Second on that?
Seconded.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you.
Dude, you told me it was a medical building, you liar.
It's not a middle voice.
You said it was a